Airing in 2010, Raising Hope was an American sitcom that was fairly popular for its time, but one that's rarely talked about now. It definitely deserves to be though, because it's such a unique blend of absurdity and wholesomeness that's hard to come by now. This is something Greg Garcia does amazingly in all his works, including his most popular show, My Name is Earl. Whenever I see Raising Hope talked about, it's always through the lens of someone who's originally a My Name is Earl fan, and I honestly think that's the most ideal way to watch the show. Raising Hope has a lot to say on its own, but the way that Greg Garcia gives subtle nods to his previous shows makes the experience that much better. There's so many guest stars, references, and all these little bits that just make you giddy inside as a My Name is Earl fan.
Which one is from NBC? Oh, that's for canceling My Name is Earl!
There's no episode that highlights this more than the show's season 2 finale. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. Now, to understand why this episode works so well, we have to also look at the exact same episode of the show's predecessor. Maybe one of the biggest status quo changes in sitcom history. Throughout season 2 of Earl, there was this running storyline where Joy, unable to return a TV set that she bought, vows to get her money back and does so in the most Joy way imaginable, stealing a truck from the store. Unfortunately, there was someone inside. Obviously, Joy gets charged with grand theft auto, kidnapping, and assault. Since this is her third strike, she faces life in prison, placing some insanely high stakes on this episode. Meanwhile, Earl's been seriously turning his life around, getting himself a GED, a job, and even an actual apartment to share with Randy. Now he looks for the one thing missing in his life: love. Both these characters' story arcs collide in the season 2 finale at Joy's trial. Earl attempts to find good character witnesses for Joy, but nobody wants to help out, so Earl has to do it himself. In the process, he falls in love with Joy's lawyer, and everyone can tell.
My stupid ex-husband wants to do you. Well, the good thing is you won't be able to hear his sex sounds. It's happening! It's happening! It's
Joy!
happening!
Doug, I will take those hands away from you.
But this romance breaks apart right before the trial when one of his previous misdeeds is brought to light. In court, at first, it seems like the prosecution is dominating the case, before Joy's lawyer comes in and discredits everything. When Earl takes the stand, he gives a great statement and the jury is evidently pleased. But everything changes when the prosecution brings Joy and Earl's dysfunctional relationship to light, and it is evident that Joy is going to jail. Suddenly, Earl realizes he can't break Joy's family apart, and
I did it.
What?
for this act of bravery, Ruby likes Earl again. Finally, he has everything he wanted in life. But that's why it's so devastating when he's sentenced to jail for 2 years and he has to give up everything: his love, his job, and his apartment. He even has to give away the list. The entire episode is so heartbreaking that it sticks permanently in the minds of most fans, made worse by the events of the following seasons. In most sitcoms, this massive shakeup in the status quo would magically get rectified by the next season, and everything would go back to normal, but instead, Earl is imprisoned for a significant amount of season 3, and has a mental breakdown when he gets out. The events of this episode have long-lasting effects on his character and the show as a whole. And so, with this knowledge in mind, watching the season 2 finale of Raising Hope is incredibly tense. In the prior episode, it was revealed that Lucy, Hope's supposedly dead serial killer mother, is actually still alive. Somehow Lucy survived the execution and got acquitted of her sentence by threatening to sue the prison guards for reacting in an appropriate manner, if you ask me. After 2 years in Tibet being a monk, she returns to Natesville and asks Jimmy and Hope to move back there with her. Jimmy of course refuses, and so we have a courtroom episode, just like Earl. This season, Jimmy also achieved his goals since episode 1 of the series, getting together with Sabrina, and they're genuinely such a sweet couple. Jimmy, Sabrina, and Hope have become a little family, so Lucy's threat to break this apart is terrifying. The family evidently thinks they'll get custody over Hope because, well, Lucy's a serial killer. But plot twist, the charges were officially dropped, so it isn't considered admissible in court. To make matters worse, the jury happens to be minors that were literally trapped under a rock for Lucy's entire original trial. The entire episode centers around the custody trial and character witnesses being brought on for the chances. Unfortunately, they're not painted out to be the best because, similar to Joy's family, they are totally dysfunctional, but in a strangely lovable way. There's plenty of guest appearances from the entire cast of My Name is Earl here, which just makes me smile so hard every time. But nothing is helping their case. Until Jimmy comes in with his Earl moment, giving a great speech about his little family. There's suddenly a chance that they might be able to win. But those hopes are immediately crushed, as hope is still given to Lucy. We watch heartbroken as Jimmy gives away hope and realizes he can't be without his daughter. So Sabrina reluctantly lets him go with them to Tibet, just for her. The slow, emotional music as Jimmy packs up and says goodbye to his family is exactly reminiscent of the same scene from Earl. Those who have watched that episode can't help but feel that same sense of dread. The status quo is completely changing, and the protagonists must give up their entire life they've built through 2 seasons. Usually we'd think this all gets fixed because plot armor, right? But we've seen this before. We know that Garcia isn't afraid of going there with his characters, so the tension is all too high. If he did this, who's to say he wouldn't do it again? What is the show going to look like after this? You can tell the episode is wrapping up and you're just hit with this pure sense of dread with what's going to happen next season. So, as they pass Sabrina on the road, and Lucy stops and asks Jimmy whether he loves her, we wonder, is Lucy actually going to do the right thing? Are they going to be reunited? But that's taken away from us immediately in the most insane moment. As Sabrina's running for her life, we just have to sit there and wonder, how could this possibly end? The tension plays consistently to the very last scene, culminating in this perfect moment when... And that, kids, is what they call karma.